everybody. Welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. Today we have Ragini Michaels, who is a certified coach and behavioral change specialist, and she is talking about her book that she co authored, Coaching for Female Entrepreneurs, and how life coaching can improve your bottom line. So, welcome, Ragini.
Hi, CJ. It's nice to be here.
So, what I love is that you focus on female entrepreneurs because I think that what I'm finding, I'm working with a bunch of women right now, which are women who are some who are entrepreneurs within a corporation or
Mhm.
even starting off at work. And there's a unique thing that I've noticed with women, particularly all of these women have children.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that females at work have a different kind of challenge than maybe males do, or maybe both parties do. But I wanted to talk to you about that first. Like, what are you noticing about female entrepreneurs and the differences or unique differences that they have?
Well, I think there's a lot of unique differences, and men have their differences that are unique too, but we're focusing here on women. But one of the things I think that's important to understand about women is that we have something baked into us from day one, and that is our desire to help other people and put ourselves second.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm calling that in this book the unconditional motherly love gene, as in your DNA. Okay. And when women started to go out into the business world, it was a whole different set of challenges that we had to learn to adjust to. It was different from raising the kids and changing the diapers and cooking and cleaning and shopping and all of that. So when we went into the business world, we had to learn new things. And one of the things that it triggered in us is what I'm calling the superwoman gene. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the superwoman gene and the unconditional motherly love gene are kind of in conflict with each other. It
Right.
produces a specific dilemma, for us to deal with. Who am I going to be? Am I
Right.
going to be the superwoman today? Am I going to be the unconditional motherly love gene today?
So that's the challenge. So, it's interesting because how I heard this expressed is
Mhm.
someone said to me, "All right, I have my boss, I have my husband, and I have my child. I feel like I'm reporting to three different people, and I'm failing at all. I'm feeling failing at my job for all three, which I
Mhm.
think is indicative of what you're saying, right? I mean,
Yes, it
right."
is.
And
It,
what
it,
so the unconditional motherly love gene, so that's the part that you said of putting others first.
Putting others first and forgetting about ourselves, which is
Yeah.
natural to women. I mean, it's reasonable that it be natural to the child bearer and the child giver, carer. So that's natural. So going into the business world has forced us to develop another side to us, which we have.
Mhm.
But because the unconditional motherly love gene is baked in, it influences us in a way that most of us are unaware of. There was a study done once, and I'm sorry I can't tell you what it is because I couldn't find it before we did this today, that indicated that instead of the fight or flight, which is the two things I'm sure you've heard of that, where we're in
Mhm.
stress, we either going to fight it or we're going to flee. For women, a third option came into view that surprised everyone, and that third option was to befriend.
Mm.
Now that
And then what does it mean to befriend? So when someone befriends someone, how is that actually response to stress or stress?
Well, it's not really the best response in the context that we're talking about, which is in business here. When you're an entrepreneur, you don't want to flee because that won't help you. You probably don't want to fight because that's not really going to get you what you want. And women are not as good at it as men, generally speaking. Although in today's world, I think women have learned, we've come so far in the business domain. But also to befriend may not actually benefit you either because it may be a time when you need to stand up. So in that
Ah.
context that you're speaking about with these people who have these three jobs they have and they're not filling any of them, the problem there is they don't know which one to take. It's a conflict between superwoman gene, let me please all three, okay, plus unconditional motherly love gene, which says, I wish to please all three, but I can't. So
Mhm.
you've got them both trying to get you to please all three, but in different ways. The
Mm.
superwoman gene basically says, you're not important as a person, so we're going to take care of these other three because you can't be, because we have to succeed. We have to succeed in the business world. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's actually a huge challenge. So, and I've seen it happen as I'm thinking about female entrepreneurship. I see that happen in several different instances. So I just interviewed a gal on charging for what you're worth. And
Hmm.
I just, in fact, had a client who, in fact, has this dilemma where she said, I actually am in a business where it's an hourly kind of business. And people, and this is, she actually works as an architect. And so
Hmm.
she racks up and she knows what their budget is and she can see that they're going over budget. And so, which is as a result of the client interaction and partially with her and her role. But what she does is she takes the hit. So she
Right.
doesn't charge a client for what her time is worth. And so that's an example of kind
Hmm.
of taking the what you describe as the unconditional motherly love. Like I come in second. So she took the hit
Right.
versus charging her client. So I
Hmm.
see that happening all the time. And so you describe that as a boundary, right? Like not fighting for yourself to say, "Hey, you know." So in that particular case, what would you
Hmm.
do? You have a client who's basically gone over budget, maybe because they've made a lot of changes in their architectural design.
Hmm.
She actually sucked up the overcharges so that she could hit budget. What is a better approach in that particular scenario?
Well, the option that I'm offering in this book, Coaching for Female Entrepreneurs, is to understand that you have three core needs that will give you the answer to your question.
Right.
We're all individuals. We're so unique. And I get a little irritated by people offering patent things. This is how you do it. This is how you should handle that situation. Because maybe this time it was good for her as an individual architect to suck it up. Maybe tomorrow it's not good for her. So who has the answer to that question? And I say that person does.
Ah,
And because we don't deal with our three core needs, which is what my chapter is about in this book, the three R's for female entrepreneurs, those three R's, which I'll tell you in a minute what they are, will help balance your ability to deal with the superwoman gene and the unconditional motherly love gene.
okay, so they actually have three needs. So when I hit, so in this case, where and let's actually take a real example where
Yep.
this
Hmm.
woman is like, I can't charge for that. I'm actually having my own issue right now because I would like to increase my rates because I have a feeling that my rates are not equivalent to market for someone with my commensurate experience. And so
Yes.
I'm having like, I'm trying to increase my rate for $50, so I'm like, how about this amount of money? And this is kind of like, is that okay? Like all it's like it's
I resonate well. Yep.
disastrously bad, right? But it's this kind of scenario where you're speaking up for your needs. I looked at my market rates for someone with my experience. They probably should be $100 more than I'm charging. And
Hmm.
so I'm trying to eke it up by $50 more. And then I tried putting it in a package, but half the time I do it, it's like, so I'm thinking of a package. So because I can't actually say it, I send it an email. And then God help me if they come back and say, so let's talk about the package. And I'm like, oh no. Well, we can work around the package. It's like a disaster. Okay, so 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 what are these three needs that I need to actually work to balance?
So, the three core needs that we as women absolutely need to honor, and this is what real self care is about,
Right.
real self care, and that is rest,
Mm-hmm.
renewal, and reflection.
Ah, okay.
The
All right.
three R's
All right.
rest.
Take me through this. All right. So help me charge more, Ragini.
Well, here's the thing. You part of you wants to charge more and part of you doesn't.
Right.
Okay? So first you have to honor that that's the conflict. There's a
Right.
real conflict there. And we're just talking about it here as being between the superwoman gene who says, you're worth it, get out there, charge the money, go.
Yes. Yeah.
Quit worrying about other people. It's not
Yes.
relevant what other people think and feel. And then the motherly, unconditional motherly love gene, which is baked in, by the way. It's not been imposed upon us. It's in our DNA, as is the other. But the other one we chose to trigger.
Right.
This one is just like baseline. right? So this one is saying, oh no, that's not very nice. That's not kind. Okay.
Yeah, she's having a
So,
problem. She's having a problem with her kids. I want to help. I'm a mother. I should be able to help her.
okay.
And my rates are too high. Like, I need to do something. Okay, that's literally what happened in my head.
Literally. Okay. So you've got these two sides of the same coin, which is about, money, which is one of the tangible things in life we want.
Right,
Time, money, and health.
right,
Those are the three
right,
things that we're most concerned about.
right.
So what I'm suggesting is first thing that a person do is you stop.
Okay,
Just stop and you take a breath, which I'm not going to do because you'll hear it in my microphone.
okay.
And rest means you just rest. Now, your mind is not going to want to do that. So you just have to kind of say, okay, we're resting now. Do something, get up and walk around the house, get a drink of water, turn on the TV, anything that will allow you to physically rest.
Okay,
Then you want to renew, which is really about relaxation. So there's a difference between resting and relaxing. So at least find some rest, which is away from the problem.
mm-hmm.
Take rest away from the problem. I don't care how you do it. Second step is to relax. Now you shift your rest into a deeper sense of relaxation. You can use a tool, a technique if you want. Listen to a meditative tape if you'd like, or music, or anything, run, some people do, that helps them actually relax their physical body. The third one, once you've rested, stopped, relaxed, changed your nervous system so that it's not going bam, 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 bam.
Right,
It's more like going,
okay,
okay. Then what I'm suggesting you do is reflect. Now, a lot of people ask me, I meditate, isn't that enough? And I'm saying, well, meditation is not really reflection. Okay, meditation, if you're doing meditation, it's something where you're working with your mind to focus it on something, or excuse me, you're attempting to calm it down and not have any thoughts. So you're either trying to concentrate, not have any thoughts, or you're trying to do some kind of visualization to create something in some way to make something happen. So there's different kinds of meditations, but what I'm suggesting is what I call reflection, which is kind of like just being where you are in this resting, relaxed state where you're just reflecting. Like when you're wandering down a street in a foreign country and you can't read the signs, you're just
right.
looking around, you're just kind of meandering down a country road on a nice summer afternoon, and you really got nowhere to go, you got nothing to do, and you're just noticing what's around.
So I want to actually put these three R's into an actual context. So for me, we talked about billing and not being able to feeling kind of conflicted about billing. So I'm going to use your three R's as I understand them.
Okay.
So I'm first supposed to, so I'm pretending that I'm renewing right now.
Rest is first.
Yes, rest. Okay. So I'm going to, so here's what I'm going to do, my unique way of doing it. So I'm going to take a 3 deep breaths. Okay. So I'm rested. And then in renewed, I'm going to pretend that I'm like taking a walk someplace, or I'm going to go to my happy place, which to me, in my sphere, is actually going to my heart. So I'm going to go and open up my heart and imagine I'm opening up my heart. All right, and then I'm going to reflect about. So then I'm going to reflect about when I'm in my kind of happy, heartfelt place. I'm going to reflect about charging for what I'm worth, what I understand to be my market rates. And what am I reflecting on? Anything particular? Or what's the context I'm reflecting on?
Well, if you're going to reflect on your issue, then imagine that you're meandering down a country road, and all
Mm-hmm.
of your options are spread out in different storefronts.
Okay.
Okay. And then just meander. Just
Okay.
don't actually go into one and go into depth, because you can, if you want, reflect a little bit more deeply on it. But the point here is to let your deeper levels of your wisdom arise here and guide you. Like pay attention. Is one pulling you a little more than another?
Okay, so I'm
You
going to
know,
do this. I'm going to take you on many different storefronts. Are you ready to go with shopping with me,
I
Ragini?
certainly am. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to
But
go into my
remember,
room.
you're reflecting here. There's no choice to be made.
No, no, I'm actually going.
Okay.
There are lots of different storefronts I can go down. One storefront is I've been told that oftentimes with these consultative practices, people are going through packages. So instead, I could change my business model to make it a package. And it seems that one way I could do this is package it to, I could,
No, I'm going to interrupt you because now you're going into solving it, seeing how to do it. I just want you to reflect on the options at their most superficial level.
okay,
Just let make some because now you're thinking a lot. And
okay,
this is kind of like the tongue in your mouth when you get a tooth pulled. It goes to the empty space and it's trying to figure out what the space feels like. And it doesn't have to make any conclusions about anything. It's just feeling what's there.
okay.
So just
All
feel
right. So
what's there.
if I go into, I'm going to put myself in the scenario where the person says, "Well, how much do you charge?" And I just change my rates. So I could go with my old rates. That's one thing. I
Mhm.
could go tell them my new rates. I could feel at the moment what feels right based on what the information I just gathered in terms of what my census is budget and financials
Okay.
and choose between those two, the lower rate or the higher rate.
Hmm.
I can I can tell you what I did, which as I said, I just increased my rates and then his whole face was crestfallen. And then
Hmm.
I said, "But we can work around that. I can work with your budget." So that's what I ended up doing.
So what you did right there was you ran over what you actually did in a scenario.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
No,
With what you
well,
did? Are you still in conflict about it? You still don't feel it was the right thing.
well, I think with him, I would have been better offering the package deal
Okay.
where he could
And
have
how did you?
unlimited date. But I didn't have that
Okay.
as an option at the time.
Right. So that's why what we're talking about reflecting will open up some options for you that you can't see when you're stressed. You simply can't see your options when you're stressed because your stress has triggered your nervous system. The thing about stress, and I'm sure you know this as most of your listeners do today, is that when you're in stress, it means that you're no longer using your frontal lobe, which is your executive decision making part of your brain. You've now you've flipped off the top of your head. You're not here anymore, and you're now in your amygdala in the back of your brain, which is your primitive fight or flight thing. Now you're struggling with fight or flight or befriend,
Right.
right?
And I did.
So
I
you,
chose to befriend. I can
yes,
work with you.
yes. And so the thing is, what rest, renew, and reflect does is it gives your system time to recover and come back to your frontal lobe, and then to sort of just peruse what your options are from a non-stressed out state.
Yeah, so here's
Okay.
what I came up with when I actually did that, now that we've talked about this. So when you're talking about it, I thought, okay, so I think a better approach now would be saying, okay, so let's actually talk a little bit about your budget because I have a lot of different packages and we'll
Mhm,
see what works for you.
mhm.
And they may say, and I'm like, were you thinking, would you be wanting to work, on kind of an unlimited basis or an hourly basis? So that would actually triage from this whole package
Okay.
versus hourly. So I could say, and he would then tell me, I'm interested. I don't know if I'm into this all you can eat. And I'm like, okay, so then I'm moving into hourly. And then I could say, so what were you thinking in terms of budget? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not sure what the normal rates are. And I could say,
Mhm.
well, kind of depends on experience. Like someone with my experience would usually be this kind of rate. Someone who's brand new would be this kind of rate. But it's a you get what you pay for kind of scenario.
Mhm. And would you feel comfortable about presenting it that way?
Yeah, I could say.
Okay.
So what is your so if you wanted to, if you actually had a lower rate that you'd want me to charge, I could actually coach you for a shorter period of time I would
Mhm.
say I can't really coach someone effectively for less than a half an hour, but we could get so that like so let's say that let's say hypothetically my rate was $300 per hour and most coaches charge 150. I could say, well, one way we could work was I could charge, for a half an hour. Well, let's just see how that works. That's a way for you to meet your budget and for
Mhm.
me to get paid what I'm worth. Now, and practically, what would happen is I probably give him an hour, which would probably be on me at that point because it's hard for me to do work. But then I would feel like then that's on me, right? Then I chose to give him more than he needed. But I think that feels better. When I reflected, it feels like that would be giving me lots of latitude to kind of move in a direction versus what happened, which was deer in headlight and like befriending as a
Mhm.
scenario. And then actually I think my rates were too high and it scared him
Mhm. Mhm.
away. So yeah, that would
Well,
work.
that's part of the point there is to under as an entrepreneur in dealing with your fees that you're setting is if you're going to set them high, then you have to also change who you think of your audience as.
Yeah.
You can't keep thinking of the person who doesn't have disposable income that you're going to have to help get disposable income because you're trying to help them do better in the world. That's not your client if you're charging $300 an hour.
Yeah.
Your client is a different target market. So you have to be clear about that as well, because otherwise your boundary that you're trying to set about who with your money is going to keep weakening and weakening and weakening because this person is triggering your befriending gene, your unconditional motherly love gene, and your superwoman gene is like going to kick you in the butt. In the back, it's going to go after you're done. Look what you did once again, right? You got to take it on yourself.
Right.
So that's another piece is if you're going to go high, you got to change your market.
Right. Yeah.
Gotta
And so
keep
I,
your
if
head.
I think actually I would have changed that scenario one more time. I would have said, because for me, if I were working with a corporate client, it's like, so just give me a sense. What's your budget, or is this something that your company is covering? Because if they say yes, and all of a sudden my rate is a certain rate versus another rate, because I know that my rate for working with like a friend is
Hmm.
actually way too low for a corporate. And then there's and in their mind they're thinking I'm not a good coach because I'm
Hmm.
charging too little. So I
Hmm.
have to
That's
ask,
right.
like, are you doing corporate or not? If
Right.
you're not doing corporate, then we're thinking package or not. If you're not package, and here's the market rates for some of my experience, and
Okay.
so let's make it work. So I think that that would be, once I had a chance to reflect,
Good.
that would be, so I get it. Like, I get the three R's. Well, because here's the thing, because I think you have to practice it a couple of times. In my case, practice it a couple of times and fail. Where I was like, this felt
Yeah.
super uncomfortable. So taking it home and working with you on these three R's helped me kind of come up with a scenario because I was not in fight or flight that I could actually break down and use this thing
Yeah.
versus this thing, the front of my brain versus the reptilian brain to solve everything. I
Because
get it.
the one other piece that I want to say with you is that you also, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be willing to say, this is my rate, and I'm sorry, I can't go any lower than that.
Right.
So you'll have to find somebody else. If you can get yourself to the point where you have that as an option, that's
Yes.
fabulous. Not something you have to use. What you want to do is to calm down your superwoman and your unconditional motherly love gene. Is you want to do what you just did. You want to lay out all the options that are available to you, and then because you're in reflection mode, which means you're back here and you're relaxed and you're rested. Right? You can see how that you can play with them and do this and do that. And sometimes you do want to be able to play hardball and you want your unconditional motherly love gene to understand, ah, now we're taking care of me. Because
Mm,
part of this, the fundamental thing with women is that we always put ourselves last. And it doesn't work in the business world. And you've chosen one of the most powerful places that we struggle with, which is what are we going to charge?
right.
Right?
Okay.
So that's
Yes.
a good example.
All right. So I have another one, which is okay. So here's another example that just happened to me recently and that I've heard oftentimes. It's that there's a scenario. This Wednesday, this actually happened last week. I
Hmm.
had three different things going on for a Tuesday night.
Hmm.
One is a class with my meditation teacher, which I really absolutely needed that point because I really felt off centered and messed up I just
Okay.
was not, I wasn't feeling well energetically because I had had a lot of, I had taken on a lot. Okay, so there's one. The second is that my son wanted me to, or my son had a college fair that where you go and you learn about colleges and
Hmm.
all of that. And then he said and I I could either do that if I did, I had either Tuesday or Wednesday. Anyways, this is too complicated. Anyway, so I had a college fair. And the
Hmm.
third thing was my husband who said, I really want you to go to this thing. Because you've been the person who's been taking the lead. My husband and I take turns on who takes the lead on certain
Okay.
projects. So
Hmm.
the college bound thing
It's
for
a
my
good
son
strategy.
is
Hmm.
he takes the lead. So he's like, I want you to take the lead because I'll probably do it in a way that you'll complain about later. He didn't have to say that, but I think he understood. That's a basic
Yeah.
equation. My poor husband. So anyway, so I had the thing that I wanted to do. I had the thing that I knew I wanted to do because I have taken a lead, and I also probably and my husband's right. I'm really picky, and I would want it to be done a certain way. And and then my husband wanted me to be there to support him as a husband. So I had three bosses, right? Husband,
Hmm.
child, and my own specific needs that I needed as a mother because I wanted to do a good job as a mother, and then my
Hmm.
own personal take care needs. So those are the three things that I was balancing.
And what did you do?
Well, what I did is I did exactly this method. I rested and thought, okay, what is it that you really need? And I thought, I am so, I've been giving and giving so much to clients in this workshop that I'm teaching for women, and then like helping a friend that kind of came to me unexpectedly. Like I was just so full up as a coach, and as you know, right, you'll work with clients,
Hmm.
and as much as we try to let go of all of it, sometimes it's hard. We still retain and we keep on giving, and there's a point in which you are full and you
Right.
can't give effectively because you're too full. That's where I was.
So essentially what you said is you had something you wanted to do and you had something that tended to the needs of others. So actually you were in a dilemma. Even though it looked like three things, it was just the basic struggle between the superwoman, which is let's please child and husband. I'll put myself aside, only now it was family as
Right,
opposed to business, which is
right,
totally reasonable. You could add in a few more business things there, and there's like,
right,
oh my God, there's so much. So essentially what I'm trying to help people understand is that when you have a dilemma like that, what you want to learn how to do is feel good about the choice that you had to make, right?
mm-hmm,
And you want to feel good about feeling bad about the choice that you had to make because you have to make a choice.
right,
You have to. And you wanted something from following your own need, and you wanted something good from following your husband and your son. So the reason we feel bad when we make a choice and why it's so stressful is because there's something good we want from both options.
right,
And so we feel like we've lost, even though we're getting what we want, because we didn't get the other side that we wanted. So that's what makes it so stressful. So part of the work that I'm trying to do is give you a way, ultimately in the trainings, to approach that with a whole different attitude and a way of looking at it, that will allow you to feel good about feeling bad that you had to make a choice, because you had to make a choice. You
right.
have to. I mean,
Yeah.
an either or question demands a solution.
Right. And so I
You only.
went to, yeah, so I actually chose to go to the meditation retreat. And I
Mhm.
said to
Okay.
my son, I said, I can't make this college thing. Does it
Mhm.
matter to you? And he said,
Mhm.
no. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, that other is complete.
All
Then I
right.
went to my husband and I was like, why do you want me to go? If I actually tell you the things that you absolutely have to do based on what I've learned, do you feel comfortable going by yourself? He's like, well, yes. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to compare you with what colleges you should visit, the three steps that you should do when you're there, so
Mhm.
that I will not be irritated, angry, or whatever with you. And does that seem okay? Is there any other reason that you need me there? And he's like, no. And I said, because I really need this and you'll be happy I go to this, I promise. And so that's how I actually resolve it. this. But
Well, see, you're very kind, and you did that very well from the heart and with good communication skills. The only thing you want to ask yourself is, what if both your son and your husband had said, your son had said, yes, I want you to go, and your husband had said, no, I really need you to do it. Then you're back in your original dilemma.
right.
Now, one thing that women find it very hard to do is to go to someone and say, I understand that this is not going to make you happy, and it's what I'm going to do anyway. See, that motherly love gene, it wants everybody to be okay with our choices.
Yes. Had I said
And
to my
they,
husband, I know you're not going to be happy, and I
yeah.
really need you to do this alone. I'm sorry.
And that's beautiful. As I say, you've done it very well. But inside, you also want to know, I'm going to do what I want to do no matter how you feel.
Right.
When you have that as an option, again, I'm talking about an option. One of my main complaints about the way we approach work life balance is that it's not something that you can fix and make
Hmm.
go away and suddenly work. It's something you have to manage and work with every day of your life. And strategies and tips and techniques are all fine and they'll work. But it's really important to have this new way of looking at it so you understand that you're never going to get away with it from this. It's always going to be there. You're always going to have to make decisions, and they're always going to be hard.
I'm
So,
always going to feel bad at some level. Is that what you're
but the
trying to tell
key
me?
is, can you feel good about feeling bad? Because it's just like the way it is. You can't, this is what I'm trying to say. Dilemmas are the way it is. You're going to have multiple needs clawing at you to be filled, yours and others. Right. And so once we understand this is a process, it's a life experience, and you're not going to get rid of it. It's not a thing that you can suddenly get a strategy for and it works well. It's an understanding and a way of approaching it, you know.
Yeah.
You don't approach a wild horse, in the same way you approach one that's tamed.
Right.
And work-life balance is a wild horse. It will go anywhere, anytime, in all directions it possibly can. You can't corral it and bridle it. But if you sit down and you rest and you renew and you reflect and learn what reflection is, then you calm the horse down, and which is your mind essentially, and your emotions.
Right.
And then you get to see all options you can't see. That's the point. You can see things you cannot see when you're stressed out and you're operating from your amygdala. So these are easy ways to get there, and it doesn't take a lot of time. But believe me, when you take the time to do it, every single day,
Right.
then you're restoring the luxury of time to your life, and you're restoring more and more time that you're functioning out of your frontal lobe instead of your primitive amygdala.
Right. Well, I think one of the long problems that I have suffered from is kind of like there's only a certain limited number of hours in a day. There's this kind of time scarcity and attention scarcity. And as my husband pointed out, there's attention, like how much attention you have in a day, how much attention you can give your son and your job and your whatever,
That's right.
and your computer and your laptop and the emails and the phone. There's an attention scarcity and there's a time scarcity, and that is a reality, right?
Hmm.
We can actually try to provide a sense of abundance by
Hmm.
by feeling being more present and not feeling more scarce. But even if we do that, the reality is there's only so many hours in a day. So what I'm
That's
hearing
right.
you say is there's going to be someone that feels bad. And in my mind, when I because I'm a strategizer, I'm like, okay, so we have to optimize for who the minimal bad situation.
That's good. That's fine. No
Yeah, so
problem
so
with
I'm
that.
like I'm kind of like, okay, well, if I don't do that, then if my husband had said, you know, we're gonna get divorced if you do this, you know what I mean? Like if he said something like that, be like, that's really bad, and then I'd be like, wow,
Well, here's
something's really problematic if he's saying that, right? That I
here's the
have to,
thing.
yeah,
If you want to strategize for the best optimal thing that you talked about, this is why I'm really, really focusing on rest, renewal, and reflection. Because when you fill your core needs that are there, what you're actually looking for, which is presence and calm and mindfulness and wisdom and trust and faith and confidence and courage, all these things and strength that we want are there inside of us. But if we're scrambling around on the perimeter of everything, which is in our mind, we can't access them. Doing rest, renewal, and reflection gives you direct access to these things, and you don't have to do anything. They're there. This is
mm-hmm,
sort of a shift in perspective. You got these things inside of you already.
Hmm.
but we don't access them. No matter how hard we try, you can't access them when you're a full out stressed and running around and trying to manage everything.
Right.
Okay. It's the same with your heart and soul, if you would like. I mean, it can help you a lot. You don't have to do anything. You just have to stop doing and sit down and reflect. But it is important to reflect and not to make any effort. And that's why I'm calling reflection a little different than meditation,
Right.
because you're just reflecting on what is the situation. Here, I've got 15 things that I need to be doing, right?
Right.
My outer business, the outer face of my business, the inner face of my business, tending the home fires, nurturing my relationships. Between those four categories, right? There's not even any room to consider my needs.
Right.
They're
Right.
not even on the table.
Right.
So that's sort of what we're focusing here. And I'm trying to help redefine what self-care actually is, because I think self-care, in addition to all the physical things that we do to take care of ourselves in today's world, rest, renewal, and reflection are really the key. It's the core need that we have. It's not an option, it's a
Right.
need,
I see.
right?
So part of, and I think that there's different ways of getting to this same scenario. And I
Hmm.
think what people often do is like, I'll get a massage or I'll get a pedicure.
Hmm.
And I think that that gives you the rest and relaxation. But I
Yes.
don't know if when you're like, okay, if there's any reflection as you're getting buffed, or you're getting massage.
Well, in a way, there is, depending on if you're resting your mind and just reflecting on what is. Oh, that massage, that feels good in this part of my body. And you just reflect on it. You're not, your reflection is kind of not being for anything or against anything. It's just there. It's like meandering down the country lane again. Let me go back to that. Some of the buildings might be old and worn out and a little shoddy. Some might be more, classy looking and, more modern. And you don't say, oh, I like this one better than that one. You just note, a shoddy building. A newer building. Reflection is more about just noticing what's there in terms of your options and what's in front of you, and less about trying to manipulate your options so you can get the outcome you want. You
Right.
trust that you have all that stuff inside that I said: wisdom, trust, uh, depth, just, confidence, courage, faith. They're all there, but we rarely go and give them the space to do their thing.
Right.
It's like we don't have to develop those if we would just sit still.
And I think actually the thing that here's the only thing I would challenge you on this, that I think that people, when they do getting massage, sometimes people walk out like, now I know what to do.
That's great. Then they've done
But
what they need to
oftentimes,
do.
like if you're walking, if you don't add the reflect piece, I'll
Hmm.
get my nails done, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm dreading going home and facing this problem. That's what I see more often.
Hmm.
The scenario where
Yeah.
um, I'm resting and relaxing as I'm getting my nails done, as I'm walking outside talking to a friend. But then I come home and it's like, now I have to face the problem. And I kind of went back into fight or flight.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why you want to reflect on what the circumstance is. Just reflect on it, you know,
Yeah, I
but
think that
don't.
that's the thing that's what I would say is the missing piece, is that
Yes.
people go, they I would say it's a modified flight, like they like, get
Yes.
me out of this scenario. Give me 5 glasses of wine, or I literally have
So
people.
if you knew that you had within you the courage that the 5 glasses of wine gave you, it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper
Right.
to sit down and reflect, rest, relax, and reflect, renew.
Right. Or
It's just those three things we have within us, everything within us. This is a bottom line belief. Do I have within me what I need to make the right decision for me, not for anybody else, for me? Once you know the right decision for you, it will unfold. The
yeah.
circumstance will unfold because you now know what is right for you. And sometimes it's going to be take care of me, and sometimes it's going to be take care of you. And if I know it's about taking care of me, then I'm okay with letting you be unhappy with me about not taking care of you.
Okay, so here's how I would net everything out based on what I
Okay?
heard. There's
Because
kind
you
of
do that
a
well.
situation analysis, right? So I'm now putting all this in a business plan. Okay.
A situation analysis. All right, let's go for it.
The situation analysis is that you have competing factors, right? You actually
Yes.
have this unconditional motherly love gene, which is like a predisposition to put yourself second, right? It's like,
Right.
for whatever reason, I'm born with this. There's nothing I can
Make-
do,
Yep.
right? Then there's this kind of super woman gene, which is like, the reality is I'm the breadwinner of the family, so I have to work, and also I care as a mother to take care of my child, and I want my marriage to stay intact.
Hmm.
So this is also the reality. And
Hmm.
then there's a part of you like, why does this have to be the reality? Okay, but the reality is that that is the reality, right?
And that's what my work is directed to helping you relax with.
Yeah, this is the reality,
It's
right?
a
So I'm
reality.
like, Ragini. Okay, so this is so here's my situation analysis. I have a competitive analysis. My competitive analysis, I have these like three competing things, and my situation analysis is I'm already screwed because I'm programmed to put everyone up before me, right? So I have my
Right.
situation analysis, I have my competitive analysis, and my strategy is what I'm hearing is first of all, know that there is no way to manage the bad. There's a way to manage a bad, but you're gonna feel bad at one
At one,
level,
yeah,
and you're
you're going
gonna.
to feel
So
bad.
you're You can actually look at it in two sides. I'm gonna optimize as much good feeling I can feel out of a bad situation, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all. That's the only strategy that you can employ. I mean,
Yes.
kind of, and then the tactics. I need to rest. I need to
Renew.
renew, and
Hmm.
then I need to reflect. And I'm hearing a little warning signal. And by the way, maybe stop reflect after the first glass of wine. Don't try to reflect on the fifth glass of wine, and
Good
don't
points.
get like all buffed out and like, look, my nails are great, and like, you know. Do the reflect part, because otherwise, no, because I've seen so many self-care kind of like, here are the self-care things you can do, but
Right.
they're all frankly ways of running away from the problem.
Right.
They're flight
Your flight.
scenarios disguised, like go walk with a friend, that'll be nice, go get, it's not the same kind of thing if you don't reflect. So
That's right.
to
It's
me,
not.
the cop, what I see in practice is the third R is missing.
Well, that's why I'm writing books and doing trainings because, it's hard to make your peace with the fact that life is the way it is. It's hard. It's stressful, and that's not going to change. And no matter how many people tell you this, and I get so irritated with it, that if you do this technique or you do this tool, and even the book that I wrote before, Unflappable, 6 Steps to Staying Happy, Centered, and Peaceful, no matter what,
Right.
my editors put that no matter what on there, and it really annoyed me because from a very high level, sure, one day you can be happy, centered, and peaceful no matter what, but for the app, you're not going to get there until you realize you're always going to be unhappy, uncentered, and stressed out until you learn to accept that that's what life is, and then you can relax.
Right. So the first step is accepting that this is life, right? You're
Yes.
always going to have to competing needs. You're always going to have a decision that you have to make and choices. And there's always going to be maybe someone who's unhappy or maybe not, but
Hmm.
probably it will be. It's called
And
life.
it's called
Situation
life.
analysis.
But the thing about the situation analysis that you want to make sure you include is that we've also given within us an enormous reservoir of riches that help us manage all of those things and get to the place where we can feel good even though we're feeling bad.
Yes, I
I
hear
mean,
two
that's
more pieces in this situation analysis. One, you have all the answers within you, and two, everyone's going to throw out like different types of programs and steps, and they're all probably relatively good, but you have to know that the answers and really the answer that you have today may be different than the answer that you
that's
have
right.
tomorrow. So without reflection, you're not really going to get there.
You can use all the techniques, tips, and tools that you've learned, and they'll work better when you understand they're not going to make everything go away. They'll help you manage it because we unconsciously expect it to go away.
Yes.
And this is what I think, being as somebody who's worked with the mind for 40 years, being a hypnotist and an NLP person, it's like, guys, there's the mind and then there's life.
Right.
right? And the mind has to align itself with some facts about life,
Right.
or it continually will drive you nuts. It still might drive you nuts, but at least you can relax behind it.
Yes. Love it. Okay, Ragini, tell us about your website and how people can sign up for your workshop.
Actually, they can go to sorry, I'm trying to remember what it is. It's www.raginimichaels.com/book,
Okay,
just
so it's
BOOK. And
okay.
what they will get if they go there is a downloaded copy of my chapter in the book, which
Yay.
looks like this, because I know you don't have the book. Can you see the book?
I
It looks like
can.
this. And you'll
Excellent.
get my chapter out of this.
Excellent.
You can download the chapter. Then it is an opt-in page, so I will have your email and then I will let you know when the first coaching group comes up and when the first virtual training is coming up. Okay.
Excellent.
So I have those two things coming up. One's a live group training and the other, which is going either for a month or 2 months, I'm not sure.
Right.
And then a longer virtual training, which will have live things on it, mastermind calls and all that kinds of stuff, plus an occasional private session for the people who are taking it. So right now you just want to go to www.Ragini Michaels, that's Ragini Michaels, Michaels.com/book.
Yay!
And I checked it out this morning and it actually
Oh,
works,
good. Well, that would
which is
help if
always,
we're
yeah,
directing all the people there.
yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
Thank,
Ragini.
thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be on your show again. It was fun.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.